Welcome to the first issue of Carp Angle. My name's Joe Morgan.
Hang on a minute, Joe. Something ain't right here, mate.
What is it? Is it the reel on the rod? I know they don't match, but you know, it's still a split cane, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it.
Trainers, white trainers.
I don't know, mate. I think you're gonna have to change something before we carry on here.
Oh, it's not this jacket, is it? Is it too much gold? Shall I just make it all turquoise, or is that?
I think the colour's wrong, mate. I think you're giving the game away with that one.
All right, give me a second. Well, here we go. That's a bit more of a carpy tone, isn't it, mate? Listen, Ali Hamidi told me I've got to get everyone's attention in the first 20 seconds, and you should see the attention I get in this at festivals.
You know what? I'm still not too sure about that, Joe, mate. It's not really that type of show.
Mate, I ain't being funny. You give me the ump now. Let's just get into the first feature. Well, it's the middle of November and it's an extremely mild day, and being as this is the first feature for the Carp Angle, we thought we'd set ourselves an absolutely ridiculous target. The target is to catch a single, a double, a 20 and a 30-pound carp, and we're going to give ourselves 3 nights to do that. For this, we've come to Fryerning Fisheries, an absolutely awesome complex with a huge amount of big carp in it. The main lake behind me here, I think it's got 20 fish that go over 40 pound at the right time of year. There's also 2 other lakes which have also got, well, one of them's got a good head of 30s in it. The other one, there's plenty of doubles and plenty of 20s. So it's kind of realistic in that the fish are here to be caught. However, the lakes are very busy and it isn't the best time of year, but you've got to set yourself some crazy goals sometimes, haven't you? I've only done this challenge once before, and that was at Farlow's, and unbelievably I managed to catch the full set, including a 40-pounder. So we're not going to worry about the 40 for now. We're just going to focus on catching a single, a double, a 20 and a 30. If we catch a 40, then that will be probably a miracle, because we're going to struggle to get on this lake at the moment. But we're here for 3 nights. Mike the cameraman's here as well. He's going to be fishing at night. So between us, hopefully we might have a chance of reaching this unbelievable goal. Well, I'm already questioning my sanity on this task. The lakes are really busy. Obviously, the country's just gone back into lockdown, so there's lots of people getting out angling. So it's going to make this extremely tricky, but we're still going to have a go. Rather than just jump in a swim and chuck 3 rods out to start with, I wanted to make the first bit a little bit more interesting. So you might be able to see this. In front of me, I have got a Dick Walker Mark IV split cane. And the story with this is that it actually belonged to my grand's fella. I thought of him more as a mate, you know what I mean, because you don't like to think of your grand like that. Anyway, he was a very keen fisherman, and he'd looked after this rod all his life, and it was his pride and joy. And every time I'd go round there, he'd get it out and show me. And so one day I said to him, I'll tell you what, look, when I was at Carp TV, we'll do a feature on that rod. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? And lots of people get to see it, and you know, get to get it out in action again. And he loved that idea, so I took it away with me, and it sat in the shed for a little while. Well, not in the shed actually, inside, indoors, in the dry. And sadly, he passed away. And then my gran passed away as well. So I've ended up acquiring it, if you like. I feel like it, you know, it's been handed down to me in some ways, but not officially. So I thought I should fulfill my agreement and make a feature with this rod. But I'm not just going to make one feature with this rod. We're going to make this a regular feature on the Carp Angle. So maybe we'll get some other anglers to give it a go as well, and maybe it will be like the challenge of who can catch the biggest carp on this rod. If it breaks, obviously that would be a sad day. However, it would have fulfilled its destiny. So yeah, 60 to 70 years old. I have taken it out once with me fishing so far, and I did catch a couple of small ones on it. So at least I know it shouldn't break too easily. Right, so no messing about. Nice and simple little method here. Just going to use the lift method. Anyone who used to watch Wilson's Go Fishing will know all about the lift method. simply a float on the line with no shot, and then you overweight the bottom so that there's enough putty on there to sink the float, and then you set that to the depth accordingly. So you want that so it's just on the bottom, and then the float so it's just set like that, and then as the fish lifts up the bait, obviously the weight is taken off the float and it lays flat on the water most of the time. Sometimes it will just kind of cruise off. On the hook I've got a size 8 mixer barbless, because it's all barbless on this complex, and I've just put a little rubber caster over the hook, a bit like a magaliner, and then I'll just put probably 3 or 4 maggots on that hook. I've already popped round quickly and just put a little handful of this mix in probably about half a dozen little spots, just to try and give ourselves something to fall onto. Obviously there's a chance of finding fish bubbling anyway, but if you've got a bit of bait in a few areas, then you increase that chance of finding some activity. So 4 on there looks about right. Big lump of putty, only what's that, 3 inches away from the hook. And then this is the mix that I've been feeding. It's crushed boilies, hemp seed, sweet corn, and I've got a bit of the smart liquid in there as well. Smells absolutely, well, horrendous to us, but I'm sure divine to a carp. So let's see if we can catch one. Right, I'm just going to drop this off of this tree here, which is a tree that I've caught from in the winter before, casting from the far side. And again, it's one of the spots that I baited up earlier on. Just literally just a handful of that mix. Something to try and get them grubbing about a little bit and giving us some signs that they're doing so. Obviously the float's not exactly cocked perfectly, but it's good enough to see what's going on. I just put a few maggots over the top of that. And a little pinch of the mix as well, just a bit of scent in there. Just have to keep taking that loop of line out. Leaves keep catching it. Oh, that's definitely a little knock, isn't it? Oh, go on, go on, go on, go on, you will. Definitely something down there having a little munch. Oh, yes, we're in. Can you believe it? Wow, what a buzz. I honestly thought I was going to strike into nothing again then, thinking it was going to be something small like a perch or a carp fry, but look, go on the old dig walker. Don't want to go too heavy on him, obviously, because I've got a 70-year-old rod. Look at that. That is what it's all about. Mega. That's bending like mad. It feels well, I'm not going to say too much, but it feels all right as well. Trying to get under that tree there. I think these have all been chopped off though. The boys at Fryerning are very good with their fisheries management and will always come around and trim off all the overhangs so that there's nowhere the fish can potentially get snagged up in. It really is mad playing them on these because they're so soft. And as you can see, you know, it's bending right through. I think it gets to about here where it stops. Well, it's not a big one, but it doesn't matter because it's a carp, it's on my Dick Walker, and if we get it in, it's one off the list. I'm not sure which one. It's either a single or a double. Hopefully we're going to get to find out. Oi, oi. Right, let's just try and guide it up at the right time through these branches. I'll tell you what, considering the size of him, Don't know whether it's just a rod, but he does not want to give up. Oh, lovely little scaly mirror. Still not ready for the net. Come on, Gil. Oh yeah, it might be a double actually. Right, let's get the scales. It's close. Go on, get in there. Yes! First one down on the old Dickie Walker. Awesome, proper buzz that. Wicked. Well, there we go. Absolutely over the moon with that one. Real quick one, and one off the list. And as I say, like, great little buzz to catch it on that rod as well. I think me and that rod are going to have some nice times together. I reckon he's a double. I'm going for 11-11, my magic numbers. And if it is 11-11, that's a good sign. That's a sign that we've got a good chance of passing this, or completing this challenge, should I say. Lovely, lovely fish. As I say, it's a little bit lighter in colour just because of the colour of the water, as they always are. But yeah, stunning fish. Right then, mate, let's give you away. See what you're saying. And it's 8-4, 8-6 maybe. So yeah, what that means is we've got our single. It's better to work in order anyway, isn't it? We want a single, then a double, then a 20, then a 30, and top it off with a 40. Yeah, right. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're just the ones that I can see in that darker water. Can't see the white bit. That bright one stands out like a sore thumb. If I was him, if I was his mates, I'd be going, come on, go away. Go hang around down the other end. You're giving the game away. So, this is a prime opportunity, to be honest with you. We're stood by the Valley Lake, and you know, it's middle of November. There's about 20 fish sitting a foot below the surface. They are pretty spooky on here, so I think, you know, if you were to put floaters out, you'd probably mess up your chance. If you were to cast rigs at them, you'd probably mess up your chance. The only thing that could potentially be worth a go is the old Alan Blair style sinking maggots, slow sinking maggots. So they would just like whip that little bunch of maggots in front of them until one of them takes it, basically, and he catches a lot of carp doing it. I think I might struggle with the old Dickie Walker to free-line maggots at 20 yards range. And obviously also you need to see them take the bait so that you can strike it when they do. So I could potentially just spook them. The other plan would be to go and bucket them 2 swims and then fish this area tonight, but not have any lines in the water. Fish across the ear washing line style, so just dropping them down the ledge, having a line going across the lake, because they're obviously happy in this bit of water and the rest of the lake is pretty busy, so that's clearly why they are here. It's a tricky one to know what to do sometimes, because you could easily just spook them out, whereas it could be a prime opportunity for tonight. Decisions. Just dropped it in. It's a beauty of fishing so lightly and with such light tackle, you know, you can literally just drop it in with minimal disturbance. Obviously this rain isn't ideal. Neither of us two have got our waterproof jackets with us because they're in the car. So yeah, can you turn this off please? I think I might be better off just a little bit closer in. It's quite deep off the edge of that. Thanks Universe for sorting that rain out, done a good job there. Only took you a minute, skills. You kind of get a feeling within a couple of minutes of whether it's going to happen or not. I reckon that one where we caught one from is probably good for another bite because, say, I've had a few fish from that before, casting across from next door, but that's the tree. It's obviously one of their little holding areas. That's got to be a bite, surely. You know you want it. Oh, I thought that was going to go then. Oh, God, that was a proper bite, wasn't it? Sunk under. Could be a bite here to be had after all. The trouble with this kind of setup, you probably do end up pulling it out of their mouths a little bit, but it's more exciting than the bolt rig on the bottom, isn't it? Could call it, should we? Like we don't want shit getting wet. Oh, yeah, go. You know, this is a proper one. Jesus Christ. Oh. God, the old Dickie Walker's having it. Look at that go. Just turned around and saw the float shoot under and struck into it, and lo and behold, there's one on it. Yeehaw! I was just about to say to Mike, yeah, we should go and get our waterproof jackets really, shouldn't we? Oh, we've got our double. Well, we've got to get in first. I shouldn't talk too soon. But yeah, I was like, we don't want to get the gear wet, do we, mate? We should probably go and get our jackets and be sensible. And with that, we're in. And it's a clonker, as Wilson would say. Well, it's actually a lot of fun playing them in on these rods. As you can see, they do most of the work for you. And for an old split cane that's 70 years old, look, performing so well. Are you going to be a double? It certainly feels like one. I got a glimpse of it and it's definitely not massive, but it only needs to be over £10. A Barney Rubble. Can't even imagine how Dick Walker managed to pull in that old Clarissa on one of these bad boys. I bet his arse was squeaking, that's for sure. In fact, a brilliant story with these rods, and I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but this was told to me by my grandfella, old Ken, who liked to call me young man. Hello, young man. All right, young man. Anyway, Ken said that to test these rods, when they were made, they'd tie the line to a Cocker Spaniel, I think. Might have been a Springer Spaniel, one of the two, and throw a ball for it. And the rod had to stop the dog in its tracks. And obviously if it didn't, well, it probably broke to be fair, but if it didn't break, then it passed the test. I love that story. I like to think it is true, whether it is or isn't. Oh yeah, you've got to be over £10, surely. Oh, yeah, it's not having none of it. There really is only so much you can give it on these, I think. Obviously, I don't want to go crazy with it because there's no point breaking it if I can avoid it. There's probably like collectors, you know, like people like Chris Ball watching this at the moment. Don't use that! What's that doing in Joe's hands, of all the people? Oh, look at them lovely scales. That's the thing with these beautiful frying fish that they've grown on themselves. They've all got very unique scale markings. The commons, because they've got there's a massive common in the main lake called the Mommon. It's like a mixture between a mirror and a common, Mommon. And yeah, you see quite a lot of the smaller ones that are coming through with those kind of mishmash scales as well. So yeah, clearly that's the mother. Come on in, mate, let's have you in, we need you. Straight in the net, thank you very much. It's like he just parked himself in there. Yeah, that's got to be over £10. It's close, it is close, but I think we've done it. Sweet. Right, we can have a little look at him and then get on with the men's lakes. I think he's going to do it. Oh my God, look. That is just... Oh, I'm going to have to let that water come out. Look, there's a bit of water dripping out. Well, 100% that is £10. £10, 8 ounces. £10, 8 ounces. I'll take that. No cheating involved. Single, then a double. Now we've got to get a 20 and a 30, hopefully. Who knows, we might even hit that magical 40 barrier. There's plenty of them next door to have a go at. But first of all, let's concentrate on that 20 pounder. To get this one back, we haven't had anything to eat or drink since being here, so we're going to go and replenish our bodies with food and drink and then make a plan for the night. I think we're going to jump on the Valley Lake. Wicked. Let's get you back, little one. Thanks for the visit. Cool carp. Well, thank you, Barney Rabble, for your little visit. We're going to go and try and catch one of your mum or dad's. Right, so we've decided to jump on the Valley Lake. Reason being that there's not a huge amount of choices, to be honest with you. As I say, the lake's not normally that busy, but with the current situation at the moment, who can blame everyone for wanting to be out fishing? So this is the area where we saw all those fish earlier. We stood up on the back bank up there, and a lot of them seem to be around the halfway mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 rods out. Mike's bought his pole, so I'm going to use the pole to put them out just so it's a little bit more stealthy. And 2 of them just short of halfway, and the other one I'm going to cast across to the far bank and clip it up washing line style. It's the perfect kind of place for that setup. Obviously we're later on in the year now, so I'm not necessarily going to be fishing up the top of the slope, but somewhere on that slope on the drop off I'm sure will be a good position. We're losing light rapidly, so I'm going to get this rod over there now. We'll have a closer look at the rigs and the bags and whatever in the morning, but for now it's all about getting fishing. Now originally I did think about putting 2 or maybe even all 3 of them over there, just purely so that there's no lines in the water in front of this swim. However, being that most of the fish were around the halfway mark, it makes more sense to fish from here and just have mega slack lines to keep them out of the way. But obviously the 3rd rod is going to go over there and there's going to be no line going across that side at all. It's all going to be above the water. So see if I can get it over there without messing about too much. That'll do. Right, I'm not going to go on about the pole too much because you're going to see more on this from one of the masters of them later on in the show. But this is exactly what I'm doing, and the reason I'm doing it is just purely to minimise any disturbance whatsoever, but also perfect bait placement. You know, if I'm chucking a handful of bait out, it's going to spread out quite a lot. This is all just going to sink down perfectly around the hook bait, and I've got a little solid bag on there as well. A little bit of that mix I showed you earlier, and a handful of maggots. Looks perfect for a bite, so I'm just going to put this out just off the bottom of that slope there. Not going to get any stealthier than that. Absolute joke of a carp. I'm almost speechless, almost, but this thing is 42 pounds. Oh my God, 42 pounds. And lake record of the Valley Lake. There's only 140 in here, I think, as far as I know. Well, there might be others now that have crept up, of course, but as far as I know, this is the only 40 in here. So to go and catch this when we're on this mission is absolutely ridiculous. There's a word called pronoia, and it's basically the belief that the universe is conspiring in your favour. And it certainly feels like there's a bit of pronoia involved in this capture. Absolute unit of a fish. Wow, wow. Right, we're going to get a couple of snaps of him because he's a lovely carp, and we're going to get him back because he's massive and we don't want to keep him out for long. Unbelievable. We'll show you the rig and that in the morning. But sick. Right, I missed a little bit of the story, and that was that when the rod went, Mike had popped to the car to get a couple of bits and bobs. So every time I net a fish in the dark, I never use my torch because I find it spooks them, and also I like not knowing what it is. So it's a little ritual of mine, and I've done exactly that. Got it in the net. I thought I'm not going to have a look at it until Mike's back because I want to share that moment with him. So he's come back. I've pointed towards the swim where you can see that there's a net in the water. He's like, "You haven't." I said, "Yeah, I have, but I haven't seen what it is yet. So let's have a look." And we both stood there, banged on the torch, and this is what we saw. Look at the width. Look at that. It's just an obscenely huge carp. So we were literally jumping up and down like two little kids. Great to be able to share the buzz with someone. And look at that. Absolutely incredible carp. Made, well, not just my day, that's for sure. What a great way to start. The Carp Angle. The Carp Angle's first 40. Right, let's get him back, or her. You just can't stop looking at them, can you? That's the great thing about when they're in the water. They're perfectly safe, and so that's your opportunity to have a nice little look over them. And what a carp. It's got a few little battle wounds on it from over the years, but it's not, certainly not a mug, this one. I remember being down here last year, and I don't think it had been out for a year or so. Found out it came out at the end of September, so it was out 6 weeks ago, and since then it's put on 3 pounds, so it's doing well. And as you can see by its gut, it's certainly been on the grub. Right, thanks again, Mr. Carp. What a unit. Like to hold them a little bit just to make sure they're strong enough to swim away, and as you can see, nothing wrong with her. Mega result. So now we've got to catch a 20 and a 30. 3 nights to do it. I reckon that could be done. Well, it's the morning after the night before, and I'm still absolutely buzzing. That's got nothing to do with the super strong Colombian coffee I've just got down my neck. To come here and set that task was pretty much, you know, ridiculous. You know, it's not something I don't think many people would put themselves forward for. So to catch a 42 pounder was just out of this world. But last night I was just buzzing like mad as a result of it. Anyone who's caught a big one will know that feeling, and yeah, I really struggled to get to sleep. I think about 1 o'clock it was before I drifted off, and then it was only, well, I didn't feel like I had my eyes shut for very long before I had another bite on that back margin rod again, and without too much messing about, managed to get it in the net once again without the head torch, and I'm thinking, God, this could be a 20 or a 30, you know, we could be another step closer to that target. Left it a few minutes, build up the anticipation, put the torch in it, £12 common. I thought, oh well, you can't win them all, can you? So got that rod back out, and whilst I was putting that one back out there, I thought, do you know what, it makes sense to put another one over the back there too. So I put the right hand rod over the back there as well, and then just before first light, I had another bite, and things have got a little bit crazy. Lost for words. Check this out. He's angry. Peach. I've got good mouths, haven't they? Look at that. Lovely sunrise happening behind, and a £28 banger of a common to start the day with. Got feeling that on my back after that big one last night. What a mental session. But it got even mentaler. So this is the 20 off of the list. We've got another one in the sling to show you. Let's get him out. Unbloody real. Mega. Thanks, universe. Thanks for the visit. Lovely to meet you. Well, I think this is one of the coolest carp I've ever caught out of this complex. Look at that for a character. Proper, scaly, awesome frying carp. Oh. Oh, he definitely wants to give me a slap round the chops. He's trying, isn't he? He's trying. I probably deserve it, to be fair, because this fish is 30 pounds, 4 ounces. So set yourself that target, which is unbelievable target on the best of days, but to come here with the lakes being so busy at this time of year and to pull that off, I honestly cannot believe it. Really is ridiculous. Pro Nought at its finest. Universe, you've done bloody good. Thank you very much. We could job and knock, we could go home, but we're not gonna. We've got 2 more nights ahead of us, and we're gonna jump on the main lake and just enjoy a nice bit of fishing. Who knows what comes along, who cares what comes along. We're gonna have a nice social and enjoy the buzz. Mega. I nearly swore then. I really can't get over how cool this carp is. That's the other side of him. Amazing, unique scales. Really is one of a kind, that. And for that to be the one to finish off the set, the full house. Mind blowing, really is. Fishing just can be incredible sometimes, can't it? Right, thank you very much. Incredible fish. Cheers, mate. Have a good day. Mad. Well, I won't lie to you, I am feeling a little bit jaded after very little sleep last night, but I'm still buzzing, and it's a beautiful autumnal afternoon. I'm surrounded by all kinds of leaves of all kinds of different browns and greens and yellows, and even on my bed, look, leaf it out. So yeah, it's a lovely afternoon to be out on the bank. Thought I'd run you through my little setup. This is something I use a lot in my fishing. Absolutely love it and swear by it for various different reasons. It's a very simple little rig, just tied on the hook there with a grinner knot and then shrink tube over the top just to create that nice little angle. And then I've got one of those little quarter bait screws on there and one of the little hook beads. I've got a barbless size 4 wide gape on there, hypodermically sharpened to a bee sting by myself. Lead clip, tail rubber, and probably about 3.5, maybe 4 inches maximum of soft braid. And the idea of that is I fished out in a little solid bag with a little mixture of pellets and bits and pieces, which I'll show you in a second, and then a few maggots in there as well. And that pop up doesn't pop the hook up at all. It sits just above the hook like that, and then as soon as the fish come along and suck around that bag, this little light bait pops up into their mouth, shoots up into their mouth, should I say. And as you can see, that hook point there is just dropping exactly where you'd want it to when the hook link tightens to the lead and the fish mouths the bait. So it's instantly coming into contact with that lead and it absolutely nails them. And to me, that's one of the hardest rigs for fish to deal with. So also a lot of people use big hook baits all the time. So if you go down to a very small one, it just makes it a lot trickier for them to deal with, basically. You know, they've got a very sensitive filtration system on their mouth. For example, you know, I've seen it on the underwater videos, a boilie could be sitting on the bottom here and the fish are feeding around that boilie on hemp seed and the boilie's not moving one little bit. So the smaller and lighter you make your bait, the harder it is for them to deal with. And as I said, once that tightens up to that lead, they've just got no chance. Solid bags is something that I've used a lot in my fishing over the last few years. For me, it's like one of those go-to confidence tactics. You can have this super attractive little pile of mix with a very short hook link, and you know, you can cast that pretty much anywhere. I wouldn't cast it into deep weed or anything like that, but yeah, most substrates you can present that on absolutely fine. And to me, that is a spot in itself. Another thing I've been doing a hell of a lot of my fishing this year is not worrying about finding a spot. For me, every time I'm casting the lead into the swim, I'm potentially spooking the fish or putting them in edge to the point that they don't want to feed. So I'm super paranoid about that, and I'd rather just get where the fish are, find where they're feeding naturally, and then put a bait near them, whether that's, you know, a spinner rig that presents itself nicely or a solid bag like that, which when they're feeding on naturals, that with a handful of maggots is pretty much, you know, lethal, especially at this time of year. The maggots come into their own, and yeah, I just find that they definitely get me more fish, so it's worth the extra few quid that I have to spend on bait. So talking about the actual mix itself, like I said, it's a mixture of pellets from mainline, and then I soak those in a load of smart liquid, a load of hemp oil, and even some phoss oil as well. And a lot of people avoid oils during the winter and the colder months because carp can't really digest them so well. So if you're putting oils into your boilies and they're eating a lot of it, or you're putting a lot of oily pellet out, then it's not very good for the fish and it'll clog up their systems very easily. That's how I understand it anyway. However, when you're just using a small amount of high oil pellet, or you know, ground bait that's got oil soaked into it, then that's just super attractive to them. There's not enough in there to cause them any problems, and it works extremely well. I've also got some crushed up boilies in there, which is a new test bait. Ground up pepperami. Pepperami is obviously an absolutely classic bait. It really stinks, and even those little bits in there in the bag, you know, that scent really comes through. So a few little bits and pieces, but lots of attraction, and then that little white pop up in amongst it. Deadly combination, that for me anyway. It's something that I've used on a variety of waters over the years and had a lot of success with. Winner winner, chicken dinner. Well, me and Mike had a good look about this morning on the main lake. It wasn't a huge amount of options to choose from, but there was a few more people had gone home, so we've ended up in this little bay purely because we've probably seen 10 to 15 fish here now. Gosh, only a little one, That is well timed. Cheers, mate. Yeah, so I haven't gone in with any markers or spomming or anything like that. Just literally stealthy approach, or well, as stealthy for me as casting a solid bag out is. However, you know, 2 casts and that's it. I'm probably just going to stick with 2 rods in here tonight. Mike's got that lovely overhanging willow in his swim, so he's poled them under there, or one just off to the side and one underneath it. But to be honest with you, neither of us are that stressed about catching a carp at the moment. We're in super happy chill mode for that feature to go the way it did. You know, couldn't have gone any better, and it's a beautiful autumnal afternoon, so we're just lapping up the sunshine, hopefully with a chance of a carp. But if it doesn't happen, then we've had an amazing trip. What else can we say? Fryerning has done the business once again. An awesome place, amazingly well run by these guys, you know, and that's not any kind of plug. I've been coming here for over 20 years and the place has only got better and better. You know, he plants all these lovely trees, the statues, obviously probably not everyone's cup of tea, but I think they add a bit of character and a bit of charm to the place. And obviously the fish in here are absolutely awesome, and loads of big uns too. So you never know, we might have a big un tonight, but failing that, we're gonna have a nice little social, a couple of big burgers to fill ourselves up and chew the fat. We'll see what happens. Well, the sun has just set and we've got a carp on. Middle rod and one of them bags cast out to the area where we'd seen some fish showing. Well, he's all right, lovely. Well, another frying carp. Well, there we go, that one came out of the blue. Didn't put up a mega scrap, but what a lovely carp. Just under 25 pound, and this is the new breed of frying carp. They've grown on in the lake, survival of the fittest, and yeah, they are a very good strain. There's different ones in here, the commons, mirrors, and then mixtures of the two. Great genetics, and the future is bright for sure. These fish are packing on the weight. Mega. As I say, they come on one of them little solid bags that I showed you earlier with the little 8mm mini micro pop-up. Lovely little mix, handful of maggots. Over an area where I know it's all weedy in the summer, like the whole area is choked with weed, but obviously that's dying back at this time of year, so there's probably quite a few naturals in amongst that. That's probably what this fella was after when he came across my bag and snaffled it. Mega. Another blinding result for another blinding session. Right, let's get you back, chap. Well, as you can see, we've moved positions again. As the evening progressed last night, the fish started to show further and further out of the bay and into the open water. And this morning we woke up, cold weather, cold wind, and we knew we were in the wrong place. Because it had gone so well, we decided to call it a day, but being the greedy opportunist that I am, as I come past this swim with my barra, I saw a fish show and I thought, why not give it an hour? So I flicked out 3 bags just for the last chance saloon, if you like. But overall, this session could not have gone any better. Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm still sitting here in a bit of disbelief, you know, to set yourself such a, what seems like an unachievable target, and to do it both times, first time at Farlow's, second time here, in pretty, short amount of time. At Farlow's, it was about 5-6 hours fishing time. Here, it was like 18 hours. That is absolutely obscene, and I think I'd actually almost be scared to set myself that challenge again. But I'm sure we'll come across another venue in the future which will give us the opportunity to give it another go.
There's been plenty of sessions where I found myself without that item of tackle I needed or bit of bait or whatever. But the one session when I really had to bodge it was a complete non-fishing session. It was a Sunday, which is a no fishing day in my house. I'm not allowed to look at fishing, talk about fishing, do fishing. And we've gone for a big family picnic. About 25 of us, uncles, aunties, nieces, nephews, cousins, sisters, brothers, the lot. And we went to a National Trust park. Went there, beautiful, lovely times, and over our shoulder there was a lake, and I told myself, don't even look at it, Al, it's not even worth it. And at the end of the picnic, everyone's playing rounders and having a lovely time. My brother, who's a non-angler, he said, bro, you seen all the carp over there? I said, don't even tell me, Matty. He said, no, you got to come and see them. Like, I've thrown some sandwich in and they're all having a munch. I've wandered over there, and lo and behold, there was a few carp, 15 of them or whatever. They're only small. That was it. I had to catch one. I had to catch one. Like, it didn't matter, but I had to extract one of these from the water. And I said to all the sort of younger generation, of which I'm putting myself into that same bracket, who wants to see one of these amazing carp? They're, yeah, go on, Alan, catch one. And all the older generation, they were disgusted. This is National Trust property. You're definitely not allowed to fish there, Alan. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's worse than that. I ain't even got any fishing gear. There's nothing in the motor at all. Anyway, I said to my little niece, I said, you fancy walking back to the motor? It's about a 1.5 mile walk. Like, do you fancy walking back there? I'll just see if there's anything in the van that we can catch one of these fish. Yeah, I'd love to. Hey. We've walked back and I've managed to find a spool of zig flow line and a hook, a pack of hooks in the dashboard and that. I'm thinking that'll do, that's enough. Gone back there, remnants of the picnic, and picked the one I wanted, obviously the most scaly one, kind of lowered it in with the spool, paid a bit off, threw it out, bang, hooked it, hand lined it in, through the pads and that, and we got it to the edge. We used a picnic blanket as the unhooking mat, and I very carefully got it out. I got the most amazing family photo of us all there with this National Trust carp. That was the moment that I really bodged it together to make a special memory.
So, the Carp Angle, what is it all about? Well, first of all, for those who don't know me, my name's Joe Morgan, and my whole life has revolved around fishing. I started off working in tackle shops at a very young age, then went on to work as a bailiff at a French holiday fishing venue, then 5 years at Corda, followed up with 9 years as a presenter for Carp TV. Now, Elliot took over Carp TV a few years ago and turned it into typography, and I always had the idea to do my own show, but put it on the back burner because I'd lost the buzz for the scene a little bit after being involved in it so heavily for so long. Well, this year, after having a break, I rediscovered my passion for the sport, but also realised just how good it is for our mental wealth. Simply being out in nature, seeing the sunset, seeing the sunrises, the stars, all of that, being surrounded by wildlife is fantastic medicine for the soul. And even aside from that, fishing itself, it keeps us in the moment, stops us worrying about other issues, things that we've got going on in our lives. And for that reason, it is a very good sport for us all. Now, at the moment, with all the stuff we've got going on at the moment, COVID, etc., mental health is rife. Anxiety, depression, these are all common things that a lot of people are suffering with. And what I've found is that fishing is the perfect antidote for that. And as a result, I felt inspired to make a show which kind of shows the fun behind fishing. It's not going to be about selling any bait or tackle. Literally, we want to inspire you to go fishing more. We want to entertain you, make you laugh, make you smile, but ultimately to get out on the bank because we know how good it is for you. And even if you haven't fished for many years, you're watching this, hopefully we can inspire people to get back into the sport. Aside from that, I want to encourage you to take your friends out fishing. Now, a lot of people have lost good friends, family members to suicide, and that the numbers for that are going up and up and up. I've lost a very good friend myself. So, our advice is take people out fishing, get them outside, get them in the great outdoors and give them something else to think about, because you never know, you might even be saving someone's life. And so the concept for the project is for it to be 100% independent with zero advertising whatsoever, zero sponsorship, and we're not even going to put YouTube adverts on there because we know how frustrating they really are. We could have looked at getting sponsors for this, but ultimately, if we're getting tackle companies to support it financially, they're going to want blood for their money, and we don't want to be selling you gear. This is all about the pure love of going fishing and sharing that with you. Like I say, the show's going to go out on YouTube, and the reason for that is because we know that's where we can do the most good. If we were to put it on a subscription-based website, we'd only get the keenest of anglers, but as previously mentioned, we want to inspire new people to get on the bank. We want to inspire people who maybe got their gear in the shed and haven't done any for ages to get back on the bank, and that is where we can do the most of that. Also, youngsters might not necessarily have the money for a subscription, so this is offering it to everyone. So how are we going to fund this? Well, hopefully you've enjoyed the show enough that you'd like to see more. And if you'd like to see more, you can support the project by clicking on the PayPal link below and donating whatever you like. If it's £2, £3, amazing. Every little helps. However, anyone who puts in £5 or more, we'll put into a draw each month, and you've got the chance to come out fishing with us We'll also film that session, so this is your chance for 5 minutes of fame. If you want it to be a social, that's cool. If you want a tutorial, that's fine as well. Whatever you want, but this is your chance to get on Carp Angle yourself. Okay, so what can you expect from the show? Well, the Carp Angle is going to be made up of various features with various anglers with a whole host of information. Hopefully a little something for everyone. So we're going to have regular on the bank features with some of the best anglers in the game. You've got my diary section, which is all filmed by myself, following my campaign wherever I am at the time of the year. As well as those, we're going to have a winner stays on match between 2 high profile anglers, which will guarantee a whole range of tips, tactics, and a lot of banter too. We've also got a wide range of shorter features, which cover all sorts of information, stuff that's going to make you laugh, stuff that's going to help you catch more fish, and hopefully stuff that's going to make you have a happier life. Little bit of everything on Carp Angle. So whatever type of carp fishing you're into, wherever you are on the planet, hopefully you're going to enjoy the show. The journey starts here.
I've taken lots of what I consider to be pretty special pictures over the years, and it's quite hard to choose a favourite sometimes, but there's one particular one of my old mate Del Smith playing a fish which is one of the old ones, one of the Horton original Sid, with the sun setting in the background, and for me it's like one of those perfect images that really captures a moment. The fish is just in front of the net, and another good friend of mine, Steve, is about to scoop the net under it. Yeah, it's particularly poignant. You know, Del died a few years ago. It's nice to remember him looking at that picture. It was a happy time. It was a time where we all watched the battle tensely, you know, this fish diving in and out of the weed, and there was a big cheer when it finally went into the net. And that moment was sort of encapsulated in that one photograph. So yeah, I look at that one and it always makes me smile. Always reminds me of happy times and a good friend.
I've been asked about a red letter session. Now, we all have a few of these in our lifetime. I've had a few because I'm really old. The one that stands out the most for numbers of big fish has got to be, I've written about this, but I've been asked a question. So the one that stands out the most for me involves Kingsmead. Kingsmead 1. A few years ago now, I was going to France at the weekend and I had 2 nights at my disposal earlier in the week. So I thought, K1 to do me. I had a van full of, the relevance of the van full of sweet corn, we'll come into it in a bit. I set up in Dog 1 and there wasn't a lot showing, but the lake was quite busy. The wind started blowing in there. Now I had nothing all day. That evening, well, early morning, I had a 36-pound fish. Then, after the night, obviously, the first night. So during that day then, I kept spomming tins of corn out. Now a tin of corn in the big spom is usually like 2.5 spoms. I had two areas going, one both at 11 wraps, one towards Ulrika's chest, shall we call it, which is 2 trees on the far margin, and the other is at the wooden platform, which you can go and stand on and look at the fish. 2 areas, 11 wraps, bear that in mind. I had loads of tins, baked bean tin size of corn and hemp. Now every bite I put another tin of corn out and another tin of hemp on that relative area. During the next 36 hours I ended up with a double, a 29, 9 or 10 30-pounders up to 39 14, which was a common, and a 47-pound 10-ounce mirror carp, a scarred mirror. Now that, you know, when this is happening, the guy next to me was acting as my ghillie, George Lockley, actually happens. He was acting as my ghillie. To catch so many big ones, it really didn't sink in until I'd got home after the trip. Well, I started the trip, I had about 90 tins of corn in my van. I put a shed load in before I started getting these bites, and as I say, I was doing a tin for tin on both areas. I ended up with about 10 tins left or something like that. When I packed up, I said to George, oh, give us all your sweet corn left, because I had this mountain in a van and a mountain of empty tins that I did clear up behind me at the end of it. You just crack the tin in the spom, throw the tin, bosh, done. And he couldn't believe this was all I'd left. So then I was back onto my bait supplier. I've now got 2 days to France. I need a delivery of sweet corn because I'm taking my son to France. But to catch so many big fish, you know, as I say, it didn't sink in. A lot's taken for granted nowadays of numbers of 30-pounders. I come from an era where when I joined Airfield, there was 3 30s in there. When I fished Farlows, there was 1 30 in there. So to catch 9 or 10 in the 36-hour trip and a 47-pounder and a 29 was just ridiculous. But Kingsmead, people have done better than that since, because most of the stock are 30-pounders now. But phenomenal lake, phenomenal session, and it just goes to show you, power of sweet corn.
Jesus Christ. Mate, that is unreal, isn't it? them scales, look how full it is as well. God, I can't believe I just caught that one. Second fish, that is just absolutely unreal. Right, let's see what she weighs. Not that it matters. Literally.
Bang on, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, bang on,
38 pound. Wicked. Right, that is absolutely immense. Oi, oi. Well, my mate said to me, you can't just start your diary piece on the bank in your bivvy. He said you need to, you know, set the scene a bit, driving up the motorway, stopping at a garage. So that, much rather start it with a 38 pound minter. Check out this absolutely amazing carp. Very rare one, and only my second from the lake, and one of the jewels of the lake, and the other one was too. So yeah, I can't actually explain how jammy I've been, but when your initials are jam, you got to live up to them. All right, a couple of snaps and we'll get her back. Wicked. Well, when you've got a big one on the bank, it's always a bit of a rush, and you never get a chance to fully appreciate it. So it's always nice when you've got them back safely in the water to actually have a proper look. And this really is an absolutely unbelievable carp. So I rushed the photos on the bank a little bit, so hopefully they've turned out all right. But I mean, just look at that for a creature. Looks jet black from the top. That's a submarine there, look. But those scales, the lovely round scales, just make it so unique. And I'm more than happy to meet this old girl today. Wicked. Okay, right, so time for a proper little intro after that amazing start to what's hopefully going to be a regular diary piece from myself, following my campaign wherever I'm fishing at the time. At the moment I'm fishing on a water which is, it's actually a no fishing water, technically. However, loads of people fish here to the point that at the moment it's hard to even get us to swim. I think there's been 2 swims for the last 2 days. So yeah, basically I was a bit unsure about where to go, really wanted somewhere to sort of fire up the old buzz again, and reading an old magazine, noticed that a friend was fishing this particular lake, and remembered he was very fond of the place, and he caught some really nice carp from here too. So I thought, well, that'll do me, a bit of free fishing. So I came up here that day. That was just the day before Mother's Day, and had a good look about, spent about 4 or 5 hours looking without seeing any signs, and then I got one little sign that I was looking for. Fish came out in an area where there was no anglers, chucked my gear in there, and as I was setting up, another one showed, and it was obviously going to be, well, it looked game on. Nothing happened throughout the night, and then in the morning, sitting there, text my mate actually, I said, you know, it feels good, nothing's happened, and I haven't seen anything today, but it feels good. Lo and behold, 30 minutes later, had a bite and caught the biggest one in the lake. It was an absolutely amazing looking carp, huge frame to it, immaculate mouth, and English personal best, and my first UK 50 too. So what better way to get the buzz back than that, eh? So obviously I was gagging to get back down here. That was the week that we got the lockdown orders from old Bodger, and I've pretty much obeyed such orders. I did go to a little lake just up the road from me, fish there a couple of times, and then we got kicked off of there. So I've had like, I don't know, 5 weeks or something of being indoors and not getting up to much. So literally been itching to get out. This is my first session out. I got here yesterday. I probably should have done a bit to camera yesterday really to set the story a little bit, but I was just keen to get fishing, and a mate came down to visit me this morning, so I was busy with him. We saw a few fish showing. It looked game on, to be honest with you. I'd seen fish since probably 5 o'clock in the morning. The odd one showing in the vicinity, but nothing had happened, and I was kind of sitting on my hands. I didn't want to risk spooking them by casting any leads into the area. However, it just got to that point, and then I was like, right, I've got to reposition one of these rods. So wound one in, put a little zig on there, flicked it out to where they've been showing. Literally, like, I don't know, 25 minutes, if that, it was away. Epic battle ensued, like, just kept going deep. Got caught up in some weed beds, which surprised me because there's not a lot of weed out there. But came out of them fairly easily, just a bit of pressure. But yeah, just didn't want to come in. The lead hadn't come off either. Schoolboy error, didn't check the lead clip before casting it out. Should have moistened it, obviously. But yeah, epic battle. And finally this amazing, immaculate carp rolled in the net, which is like an old dinosaur, really. It's I'm not sure how old, but well over 40 years old. You know, it's a proper ancient carp, and one that I was well happy to meet today. So yeah, I've not seen anything since that happened, but after one like that, you just kind of get to that point where you don't really care, you know. Obviously, I put the rods back out straight away, and I've actually got 2 zigs out there now, so obviously do care a bit, but I'm feeling very chilled. I've still got a few nights ahead of me. If I want, maybe 4. So there's 2 other big ones out in here. I mean, that is just ridiculous to catch 2 of the 18 in 2 bites. Seriously jammy, but there's 2 other of the 18 which hopefully will. Well, I want to talk a little bit about luck, because everyone always says, Joe, you're so lucky, you know, how'd you do it? And to be honest with you, I am jammy at times, and like I said, jammy by name, jammy by nature. My initial was Jam, Joe Alfred Morgan. So yeah, I do have my moments, but I also do have my bad luck too, and quite often with a good bit of luck comes a bad bit of luck. I'll give you a perfect example of this. Caught that 50 pounder just before lockdown. Then during lockdown, had a little session over a little syndicate water. Got caught in a tree. I'm trying to pull it out of the tree. Suddenly it's come flying back towards me, so I've ducked out of the way. The lead's hit the rod, smashed it in 2. 2 parts instantly, just like that. I mean, to be fair, the good luck there was that it didn't hit me in the face, because it could have smashed my teeth out or broken my nose or blinded me or something. So yeah, there you go. And then yesterday, obviously, caught that absolute minter of a carp, which I didn't really talk about, you know, how special it is, but you know, it's a very, very old, ancient dinosaur. And as you can see by the look of it, you know, amazing character. Anyway, don't want to keep talking about that. This morning, there was a reed that kept blowing around in the wind, catching my line, and it's been agging me since I got here, that particular reed. So anyway, I thought, right, I'm going to get it, got my waders on, walked out towards it, leant out, slipped down the slope. As I slipped down the slope, I just fell over onto my rod, and it snapped in 2. So in 2 sessions, I've managed to break 2 infinities. So yeah, just so you know, I do have my bad luck too. Nothing else to report at the moment, but conditions are looking good now. It's starting to look a bit like it was yesterday, and I'm expecting to start seeing them show soon. Fingers crossed. Wow, it's been a rather hot afternoon with very little fish showing at all, to be honest with you. I haven't been right around the lake, but from the view I've had and the little bits I've been to look in, haven't seen a thing. It's getting a lot hotter now. It's going to be 27 degrees tomorrow, so I imagine they're going to have other things on their mind other than eating. However, I haven't wasted the day. Been moving the zigs about a little bit, and I've just literally just come up here about half an hour ago, found a lovely, amazing looking little spot just up the edge from where I was. But there wasn't a pathway through to it. I had to go all the way around. So with my little saw and a couple of little cuts and a bit of nip and tuck, managed to make myself a nice little pathway through here. So I'm going to keep an eye on this spot. I've trickled a bit of bait in already, but it looks like one of them sort of areas that probably gets overlooked. Probably hasn't seen a hook bait for a long time, and sometimes them little spots can be a massive edge. So a little bit of bait in there first. Hopefully, maybe overnight they'll visit it, and in the morning I'll top it up again if it's gone. Fingers crossed. And yeah, we'll see what's happening. But I did notice it's very obvious where I've been cutting these branches, and I don't want to make it too obvious for other anglers, even though I'm sitting here talking about this on a show. So a little idea I just come up with, these little fresh cuts. Just made myself a little brew, got the tea bag. I'm just gonna take away that nice bright white colour that makes it look so fresh. Might just scuff it up on the train as well, actually. There we go. Just so it's not so obvious. Maybe I'm being a little bit paranoid, but you can never be too sure. Well, been another quiet morning on the fishing front. There was a few showing, 2 of them actually, right over my rods at about 5 o'clock this morning. I only had about 3 hours sleep. I've been up watching on Cork, probably seen half a dozen in total, but they're not up to much. You know, it's flat calm this morning. You could see there wasn't any feeding going on whatsoever, really. It's that time of year where, you know, they're going to be thinking about spawning, and by all accounts there were. The big ones were up behind the island yesterday, looking like they were, eyeing up a perfect place for it, as they do at this time of year. You know what, the last few days I've been walking past these lovely flowers on the pathway up there, admiring them, thinking, oh, I must get a shot of them for the old video at some point. Look at them, lovely, lovely colours. Anyway, this morning I walked down there, someone had broke them off and put them on the wall. They were just sitting there, drying out in the sunshine, dying. So I chopped the stems off, made a little hole for them in the edge here, popped them in, and at least I can admire them next to my rods here for as long as I'm here for. Talking of which, I'm getting itchy feet. It's becoming a bit of a camping scenario, you know. There's literally 1 in, 1 out here at the moment. And although I'm in a fairly good zone for that kind of thing, sitting and waiting, I get a bit bored doing it. And if not a lot shows this afternoon, then I think I might even get on my toes today, but if not, first thing in the morning. I'm going to travel a couple of hours down the road to the St Ives complex, back on the meadow, which is a lake I fished last year. Absolutely lovely lake, so look forward to showing you the place. Right, well, as mentioned earlier, things were looking pretty quiet down at the other lake where I previously was. So I headed up to St Ives, sorted my ticket out with Gordy. First time I've actually met him. First thing he says is, hey, you look like an old tramp compared to how you do on this photo. Cheers, mate, nice one. It was a couple of years ago, to be fair, and I've been on the bank for 3 days. And I am looking seriously rough. I had a few carpy washers, you know, little wints in the margins. Anyway, right, I've got some really exciting news for you. Basically, fished it a little bit last year, and it was a similar time of year. When I arrived and had spoken to Gordon and everything, I said, well, whilst I'm up this end of the complex, I might as well have a look at this end, you know. First bit of lake I come to, climbed up a tree. There's the big one. Not just the big one, but plenty of other big ones as well. The round brown, which I think was 48 last time it was out. There's another one, which one of stockfish is probably £40 now. There was a mid-30 leather. A couple of other mid-30s, they all looked absolutely immaculate, you know. Probably, you know, the main pack of the big girls. Probably up here hiding away from the males, but obviously any time now they're going to want to spawn. So my gut instinct was to chuck a floater out or a zig, because, you know, the way my luck's going lately, I thought it'd probably be the one. But anyway, I managed to hold back. Just watched them. They've been in and out of this corner, drifting about on the surface. And from what I can see, I don't think they do a lot of feeding up this end. I think they probably just come up here, hang around. There's not many spots in the edge. So basically the plan is for tonight, hold back, hold back, wait until they drift out, because I'm sure they will later on, and then set a couple of traps ready for the morning. If them traps aren't sprung in the morning, then I might just put a zig just down to the left here, roughly, well, sort of in between here and a snag. It's a little bit hairy, but with a beefed up zig, you know, if I'm on the rod, I think I'll be alright. It's still like 10, 15 yards from that snag where I want to put it. So obviously I need to get a rough idea of the depth tonight, once the fish have moved out. But yeah, mega excited, as you're luck, eh? When you're on a roll, keep rolling. Come on the round brown. Right, well, nothing happened last night, unfortunately. However, obviously the plan was to hold back last night, hope that I didn't spook them, in hope that they returned today. It's just starting to warm up now. It's probably about 10 o'clock in the morning. There was a couple stayed up here in the night, big and lumped out about 11 o'clock. And then in the morning there was a couple drifting around on the surface. It's all flat calm. I've just got my baits in the edge on little traps that I set. Well, I primed them up yesterday and just dropped them in last night. So I think they were aware the bait was there yesterday, so I'm just hoping they come back for another little look today. It's just lovely to be back over here at St Ives, to be honest with you, after being on that last place and not being able to move, and there was issues of, you know, risk of being kicked off by the police, the council, people were coming over and saying you're not meant to be here, we're going to call the police on you, and you had locals moaning because there were people travelling from Essex, would you believe, up to there. And yeah, it was just obviously just because it was so busy that people were coming down and weren't even able to get a swim, so you can understand why the locals would get a bit upset by that. However, like I say, on this amazing little complex, or big complex, known as St Ives, which has got a huge variety of lakes. I think there's 8 lakes on the ticket, all within a mile of each other, just in a nice little area. So you've got so many options dotted about, loads of big fish, lots of new fish that are coming through as well, and it's just a lovely place to be. Not many anglers. I think if this place was in Essex, it would be twice the price and it would have 100 people on the waiting list, you know. Whereas it's only an hour and 20 minutes from Essex, so I don't know why people don't just travel up more. It's not so bad in the motorway, especially coming up this way as well. Going around that M25 towards, you know, Colne Valley and whatever. Oh, I used to dread those journeys, I really did. Anyway, like I say, it's looking good, starting to warm up, hoping them fish come back like they did yesterday, and fingers crossed. Well, I've got to learn not to predict what carp are going to do, because I'm always wrong. The fish didn't turn up in there again yesterday. Turns out the guy on the other side of that same little lake, and obviously the lakes that are joined to each other so I can get in and out of different sections. Yeah, there's one guy at the other end of the section I was in, and he lost one in the morning. So, you know, I watched them fish for hours, and I could see that they're a real close-knit community, you know, tight-knit, proper good mates, and you could see the leather was almost like the bodyguard for them. You know? Interesting to watch. But anyway, so if old matey lost one, then I can see why they disappeared. I had a good walk around yesterday afternoon, couldn't find anything anywhere, to the point I was just knackered myself out. I'd had 3 hours sleep that night, 3 hours the night before. It was just so hot and so many mosquitoes, I just couldn't sleep. So yeah, I done myself in a bit yesterday, got to the late afternoon, early evening, and I just jumped on long reach for one night, just because I was near the other spot, so I could keep an eye on that, and also there'd been a few fish milling around in that area. However, I set my alarm for like 4 o'clock, got up, packed up my gear. I was like, well, I'm not happy here, there's nothing going on. So there was a new wind coming this morning, nice fresh southwesterly, and a fresh southwesterly at this time of year, well, you've got to be on the end of it, ain't you? So I packed up the car, drove around to the other side, come down to the end of the meadow here, stood on the end bank by the sailing club there for about 5 minutes and saw 2. That was enough for me. Got the gear out, 3 rods scattered around the area, a little scattering of bait, and it's looking cock on. So fingers crossed one of these is going to rattle off any minute. But yeah, this is proper. On the end of a big wind on a big pit. Proper angling. Oh. Go on. take too long. Sat there for about an hour. Hadn't seen anything that close to me. There was a couple showed a bit further out. So I popped a solid bag out there, and 15 minutes later, absolutely tore off. I've got this cracking 31.5 pound mirror. A lot of these fish have never seen a hook before. Obviously it's hard to say, but it's just nice catching fish that are in such good condition and don't get hooked very often. Wicked, proper little buzz that, and after however many nights, 4 nights of not catching, it's nice to get a bend in the rod and a carp on the bank, buzzing. Lovely jubbly. That wind's starting to get up even more now. I got that rod straight back out there, and I wanged another single pop-up a bit further out there as well, but probably going to put another one on the bag as well too, because just because there's a lot of extra attraction in a PVA bag, isn't there, to a single hook bait. It's giving off a nice bit of scent. There we go. Oh. Lovely jubbly. Back you go, mate. Thanks for the visit. Got a cracking carp with some lovely little scales down the back there. Nice big one there. Absolutely mint condition mouth. Just how we like them. Right, go and tell the brown I'm looking for him.
There was one day I was down at Burfield, I was in Alsatian Bay. It was in the close season, the old close season. And I'd gone down there with a rucksack full of tiger nuts. And it was one of them old army rucksacks, I don't know if you know them, they call them A-frames, I think. So it's a little metal A-shaped frame, 2 padded bits, and they're made of like a bluey canvas with a drawstring at the top. And it was full of tiger nuts, loose tiger nuts. And I'd seen this stick out there, and it was obviously been put there by an angler at some stage, and I was looking for somewhere to pre-bait, and I thought, I'm going to go buy that stick and bait up around that. It's obviously going to be on a feature of some description. I couldn't reach it with a catapult with the tigers, so I had this stroke of genius. I put the rucksack in the water and it bobbed like a cork. It was really buoyant, and I thought, that's perfect. So I put it on my back. It used to have a little clip for the front, but the clip had broken, and there was a cord there, so I knotted this cord together. I got in the lake, just stripped down to my pants, got in the lake and sort of breaststroked out to this stick. I was halfway out, I don't know, 50, 60 yards, whatever. I'm halfway out there, and I started getting slower and heavier and slower and heavier, and I thought, oh, something's going on here. And what was happening, the canvas was taking on water, the rucksack was filling up with water, and it got to a stage where it was heavier than me, and it literally flipped me on my back and just took me straight down to the bottom of the lake. And I was underwater, under, I don't know, 12 foot of water, struggling around, trying to undo this little knot that I'd done up, like this granny knot in this lace, and I couldn't get it undone. And I'm on the bottom, drowning now, basically. You know, I'm on the bottom of the lake, my back's on top of, I don't know, whatever, 5, 10 kilos of tiger nuts. I'm at the bottom of the lake, the bubbles are getting less and less. So I had to lean behind me, undo the top of the rucksack and tip all the tiger nuts out in a great big pile, which was the last thing I wanted to do because tiger nuts are quite expensive. Tip them all out and then paddle my way like mad up to the surface and take one much needed gulp of air. But yeah, that was a bit of a disaster really.
Optical Calories is just a measuring stick, really, for my way of ascertaining how much visual effort is being put into carp fishing. And visual effort is where it all begins and where it all ends. There's nothing more important. I would say that every single carp I'm lucky enough to catch if I trace the moment that it goes into the net back to whatever started that chain of events, it's always something I've seen. Never catch fish fishing blind, never do fish blind. There's always something. And a lot of people have said to me in the past over social media or fishing shows or wherever, that it's all right for you to say never set up until you've seen a bubble or a fish or something, but on my lake they never show. So I got this impression that fish never seem to show anywhere, which seemed a bit odd to me. So I thought, well, I need to try and find a way of articulating how hard people have got to look. The single common denominator in every single successful, super successful even carp angler who catches more than their fair share is the fact that they are obsessive about looking. I've never met one single angler who catches a good amount of fish, or even usually any fish, when he spends all his day in his bivvy on his tablet on Pornhub or whatever he's doing. So the key is looking, and your eyes are very much like a muscle that you might exercise or work in the gym. The more you use them, the stronger they get. Not only does your actual eyesight get sharper, but this is really key, your periphery gets really, really sharp as well. And that means that you will see fish showing over there where the camera is now. If I'm looking out there, if one goes like that, I'll see it. And that's just a matter of training your eyes. Now, whenever I'm out guiding or doing a tutorial, if the sometimes the people can't see the lead going through the air, and if I'm teaching them how to feel the lead down, then being able to see the lead go through the air is quite important. And I'll say, you can see the lead go through the air, can't you? And sometimes they look at you like you're crazy. And it's at that point that I refer them, or in fact I refer more anglers to Specsavers than I do to sticky baits. Most people have not had a sight test for years. Some people have never had a sight test, and almost everybody's eyesight is not up to the level that it should be. So first and foremost, get your eyes tested. Very, very, very important for numerous health reasons, but your eyes are your first, second and third weapon in carp fishing. It all starts with your eyes. The water will give you clues and signs all the time. It's up to you to absorb them, digest them, and then act on them. And in a nutshell, this is what optical calories are. The more you burn, the better your eyesight will get. The more you look, the more you see, the more you see, the more you know, the more you know, the more you will catch. I promise you, it's as simple as that. It requires effort, which is why, if you're one of the huge number of people watching this, hopefully, only a few of you will actually do this. And that's great, because a lot of people don't want things that require effort. They want it easy, they want it on a plate. So don't be like them. Be the one who's watching this, thinks, you know what, I'm gonna go and do that. I'm gonna make a difference to my fishing. If you're not wanting to do that, absolutely fine. Everyone goes carp fishing for their own reasons, but don't complain that you're not catching what you want to catch. If you want to catch more, the secret is right there.
No Wes. Mate, that's it.
I'm falling, aren't I? Right, Calamities, she's in.